Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CEO Sit Down series. Whether you're thinking about starting permanent jewelry or you've already invested and are needing some help getting up and running, wherever you are in your permanent jewelry journey, tune in because we're sharing exclusive tips and advice for you from the best in the business. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. Hannah Wedeking, the co-founder and CEO of Permanent Jewelry Solutions, or PJS, is here with us today. Welcome, Hannah.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Thanks for being here. The sister company of Lovewell, the biggest permanent jewelry retailer in the world, PJS helps business owners and budding entrepreneurs grow revenue through permanent jewelry by taking the guesswork out of their investment through real life expertise, sharing everything from how to price bracelets and how to shop for chain, and even how to train a team member. Hannah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, starting with this, what motivated the founding of Permanent Jewelry Solutions, and how does it fill a gap in the market? What problem are we solving?
Yeah, great question. So I started my permanent jewelry career with Loveweld. So I got to experience being uh, being a part of founding a business that we had nothing to help us. We were essentially pioneers trying to figure out, okay, what machines do we use? And then how do we grow teams? And how do we make it to where it's not dependent on just ourselves or like the studio managers, those sorts of things. And then how do we make partnerships? So there was just so much exploration that we had to do at Loveweld. And then through that, we have been able to kind of package up everything that we've learned, and that's what PJS is. It's an answer to that need in the market of this is a growing trend. This is not going to be something that one or two people are going to be doing in our nation. It's going to be something that I think a lot of jewelry stores will add to their service. Salons are going to be doing to their service. And so for us, the opportunity was to take everything that we've learned, package it up really nicely, really efficiently and effectively, and present that on the marketplace as an answer to that question that we get every single day of how do I start a permanent jewelry business, or where do I get started? What's priority number one? And we feel that we're equipped to do that because of our retail experience. We feel like we're equipped to do that for anybody from the solopreneur, because that's how Loveweld started. As a solopreneur in her garage, Sarah started it on her own, figuring out how to make it happen, all the way up to we've partnered with really big, substantial modern days department stores. We've done pop-up events with salons. We've just had a ton of experience with different businesses throughout our time with Loveweld that we feel like we're uniquely equipped to be able to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how would you say PJS or Permanent Jewelry Solutions supports businesses and individuals? You're talking about that solopreneur. How does PJS support them in looking to integrate permanent jewelry services into their offering, or just start new with permanent jewelry?
Yeah. So on a very practical level, we have all of the equipment, the necessary equipment. We've done the research. We've done kind of the exploration to be able to know what equipment we would recommend in any of those given circumstances. We have all of the tools. We have excellent sourcing for products such as chains, charms, these sorts of things. And so we are able to kind of take a tailored approach to each individual. So whether they are the solopreneur or they have 50 locations, we've done the research to understand what it would take to that lift it would be to get started. And then aside from the very practical, here's the equipment that you need to get started as well. Just through things, through Loveweld, we've been able to explore things like inventory management. We've been able to understand the best way to train an entire team. With Loveweld, we've trained well over 100 people to actually do this skill. They can take this skill, they can go out and help customers with that. And so what's the best way to do that? What's the most effective way to train a large team? And we've also been able to engage with our team in a big way. So we come with a lot of experience. And so no matter where anybody is on that lifetime cycle wherever they are starting. They're a brand new business, or they're a well-established business and they're just wanting to add this in. We have them covered for sure.
Mm, makes sense. I think we'll get a little bit more into training later, but zooming back out, for those people who are, have heard the term permanent jewelry before, but are, not really clear on what it is, can you clarify once and for all what exactly constitutes permanent jewelry? And we get this question, can you call a piece permanent jewelry if you simply close a jump ring without welding it?
Right. Yeah, great questions. We do get this question quite a bit. So permanent jewelry is essentially any piece of jewelry. So that could be a bracelet. That's the most common style. It could also be a necklace. My necklace here is permanent. It could be an anklet. And we've even done rings and things like that. However, the rings, they're not permanent in the traditional sense. So let me just stick with the necklace, the anklet, and the bracelet. What makes that permanent? Well, we actually take a chain. We're going to custom fit it to a client, and then we're going to use a machine called a pulse arc welder and weld together a jump ring. So a jump ring is essentially just like it's a circle that has an opening on it that you can twist open and thread the chain through. So you're just connecting each side of the chain, and then you're going to use that pulse arc welder to essentially make that chain whole. So you're no longer going to have an opening there. So that's what actually makes it permanent. So you're alleviating the need for a clasp. You're alleviating the need to be able to attach anything else to it. Once it's on, the idea is that it's on there as long as a customer wants it to be. It can be cut off. They're not going to be welded into your skin or anything like that. That's a common question we get as well. No pain involved. But if that jump ring is not welded, if there is any sort of tension onto that bracelet or necklace or anklet, it will break. And so it is necessary to be able to have that jump ring welded closed by that pulse arc welder. And that's what makes it permanent.
Well, thank you very much. So let's move on to training and starting out. Does somebody need formal training to work in and sell and make a permanent jewelry piece?
While there are no formal requirements and needed to be able to operate as a permanent jewelry artist or a business owner, we do highly recommend going through some sort of training or certification. The reason being is that there are just some very simple things to think about in regards to customer safety that we do address. We actually do address this in our welded jewelry certification course that we offer at PJS. And also, it just saves you a ton of hardship. Like, why would you try to do something on your own that you could get that resource and be able to learn it in half of the time without the frustration or the headaches? But you're getting all of the information you need clearly, succinctly, at your beck and call. You can turn it on, turn it off, whatever you want. And it can be flexible with you. So I do recommend training. It's definitely not a requirement in order to operate in the industry. But I do highly recommend it. So that way you can make sure that, one, you're learning as efficiently and effectively as you possibly can. And two, you're going to be providing a consistent and great experience for your customers.
Thank you for sharing that. Would you say it's easy, or how difficult would you say it is to train to be a welder, to train to make permanent jewelry?
It varies depending on the person. If you've had any sort of background working with jewelry or just finer things, the most difficult part is just teaching your body how to work with such small things. And honestly, I feel like your eyes even learn how to adjust and see the things that you're working with. I have never had anybody that I've trained, out of the hundreds of people that I've trained, that once they've started and put their mind to it and decided they want to do it, that they weren't able to. Everybody can at some point. Just how fast or how quickly they're able to master that skill varies depending on the person. I always say, if you're a musician or things like that, it's kind of like learning a skill, and then one day you're sitting there and you're like, oh, this is so frustrating. I can't figure out how to learn this at all. And then you go to sleep and you come back the next day and it's like your body magically knows how to do it. It's the craziest. Permanent
Mhm.
jewelry, learning the skill of permanent jewelry is very much so one of those things that it just takes time,
Mhm.
takes practice. I always tell anybody that's about to get trained, either at Loveweld or PJS, that you will hit a moment when you believe that you'll never be able to do that. But I wish I could record that moment, because everybody overcomes it. And then
Mhm.
they feel the same way, and then they overcome that and get to be really proud of that new skill that they've created. So
Mhm.
definitely possible for everybody to get started with permanent jewelry, to be trained. And then that timeline, it can change depending on the person, but typically it takes about 2 weeks to get really confident and trained.
Okay, so not very long at all. Would you say you need a welding machine to train for permanent jewelry?
To for permanent jewelry, I think that you can start out without the machine. However, very quickly within the process, once you learn how to thread that jump ring that we talked about earlier onto the chain, and close your jump ring, you're going to want the machine. So while you might not start out with the machine, maybe it's on its way, or you're wanting to wait a couple of weeks before making that investment. A big part of learning how to weld is learning how to work with the welder, the pulse arc welder, and learning what is a good and not good weld, what would be an effective, a clean weld, what's going to be a weld that we would feel good about sending out with a customer. And so you would need it very quickly in the process if you didn't start it out with it.
Makes sense. So you mentioned earlier the welded jewelry certification. Can you discuss the training program and expertise offered by Permanent Jewelry Solutions for businesses and individuals entering the permanent jewelry industry? And maybe you could tell us like what factors one should consider when selecting a training course for permanent jewelry.
Absolutely. So we created our training as a way to really digest the steps of permanent jewelry. So what's worked best for us is to break down our training into different steps. And so that's what you see on our welded jewelry certification. It's going to be an online course, which is really helpful for somebody that, maybe life is busy, and when you can train is it could be at any hour of the day, or these sorts of things. That also is helpful because you can rewind, you can rewatch things, you have access to the course for 1 full year after you purchase it or get access to our welded jewelry certification. So it's something that you can constantly be coming back to. And so we're going to talk about in our welded jewelry certification the very basics of permanent jewelry, how even down to like, how do I open and close a jump ring, which there is absolutely a strategy behind that. There's a method to that madness, if you will. And so we talk about everything from that to sizing customers we talk about the customer experience and setting up machines and what is a good weld. So we try to cover the basics of all that you would need to be able to get started with permanent jewelry. And then that's all available on our welded jewelry certification. We have everything in video as well as written content. So that way, if you're like, I need to just read it, I need to like digest it that way, it's available for you in that. We also have you submit videos, and this is not because we want to grade you or do anything like that. It's just so that you're actually, it's one thing to read something, it's one thing to watch something, and a whole other thing to be able to physically do the task. Something that it's permanent jewelry is definitely one of those things that sounds really easy, and then you start and then maybe it's not so easy. So want you to actually practice that. And so you submit videos to us, so that way you are actually getting that practice. And then there are some quizzes and things like that. Again, not so that we can grade you, but so you can help digest that information that you've just taken in, and hopefully do that in a quick and effective way.
Mm.
So our welded jewelry certification is available. It's about 5 hours of content, but we do recommend stopping and practicing, so that might extend the process a little bit, and that's available online.
And well, it's very clear that the welded jewelry certification is built by the experts and taking all of that knowledge and expertise that's in real time from LoveWeld and is being informed and helping others learn permanent jewelry the right way, the first time around.
Absolutely.
What factors should somebody consider when selecting a training course for permanent jewelry? There's lots of training courses out
Right.
there, ranging, from a couple $100 to thousands of dollars. what things should somebody keep in mind as they're shopping around for their permanent jewelry training?
Great question. Yes. So the main things that I would consider is one, the background of the company. So how much have they actually done permanent jewelry? What is their experience with permanent jewelry? And I would look for somebody who has experience in an industry similar to yours. So like for example, Loveweld. I mean, we are a retail company. We have done pop-ups, we've done events, we've done all of those sorts of things, and so we're able to take that. So understanding the background of who you're taking training from. I think the other thing that I would consider is the affordability of it. Like I know for PJS, training is not a way for us to make buku bucks off of anybody. It's a way to establish trust and begin the relationship, because we really do want to be part of the entire journey for our permanent jewelry business owners. And so for us, we actually include our training with the purchase of any of our welding machines or any of our starter kits. We want to make that access as easy as possible. So free is always better than costing something. But yeah, so I would say there's definitely a lot of training out there. You don't need to pay an arm and a leg to be able to get access to training. And then just consider the experience of who's training you. How long have they been doing that? Do they have retail experience? Have they actually been in front of a customer and welded them? Have they been in a stressful situation when they've had lines and lines of people and had to weld as fast as possible? Or have you had somebody? Yeah, just think about their experience. And I think that will be really informative.
For those people who have maybe finished their training, or, in the case that they're about to finish their training, what level of support can they expect from Permanent Jewelry Solutions once their welded jewelry certification is complete?
Yes, like I just mentioned, for us, even just our training course, it's a way to establish relationship. It's a way to gain trust with our customers, that we actually do know that what we're talking about, and that our desire is to support people that are on this same journey and be there for them. So that we are available indefinitely for our customers. For anybody that's taken our course or is interested in our course or has questions, you are able to schedule a consultation at any point on our website. We have email support. We give out our phone number, and we answer texts, we answer phone calls, all of those sorts of things. And then we also are working every day to get better at our offerings, as far as like what marketing materials we can provide you with, what practical and educational tips can we put out on a wider scale, on a less one-to-one basis, that will help our customers be successful. Your success is our success. And so that's something that we want to get better at. We want to have more opportunities to support our customers, even outside of the one-to-one, because maybe somebody doesn't want to have a phone conversation. They just want to be able to look up information on our website and find it. And so we want to make that available for them, for our customers. So that's our goal. Our goal is to be available for our customers from the beginning all the way to their success, and everywhere in between.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you mentioned that training is free with the starter kit offered by PJS. So when somebody's, I guess, what advice would you offer somebody who's looking to purchase a starter kit for permanent jewelry? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I would say your starter kit is definitely the thing that's going to set you up for success or not. It's going to you're wanting to look for something that has the basics of everything that you need. It's going to include all of the tools that you need. It's going to include organizational material, as well as even some eye protection, those sorts of things, all of which are included in our kit. And even some chain. I would recommend getting some inventory in your starter kit. So some chain, charms, if possible. Those are always bonuses. But you want to be able to get a starter kit that you can invest in, that you know the tools are going to be high quality, that you're going to get basically everything that you need to be able to operate as a permanent jewelry business owner. And if there's inventory in there, that means that you can start recouping your cost from your starter kit right out of the gate. And so that's something that I would definitely consider when evaluating all of the different starter kits on the market.
So the kit that's offered by Permanent Jewelry Solutions, you can it includes chain, right? And you can practice on that chain, but you can also sell that chain. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We include sterling silver and gold filled chain in our starter kits. The reason for that is we want to include if you're training and you're practicing and all of these sorts of things, it's a little less stressful to be practicing on gold fill and sterling silver versus like maybe 14 karat gold or those sorts of things. That also keeps the cost of our starter kit down. We also include enough chain for a resale value of over $800. So that means our starter kit is priced around $400 right now. And that means if you were to just sell everything that we include in our chain, all of the chain that we include in our starter kit, you would actually double, you would make your money back and double that. So you would be able to recoup your cost completely of the chain. Of your starter kit that's included in the chain. So that's something that we're really happy about. We're really proud of our starter kit, and we feel like it really sets people up for success. They don't have to go back and try to repurchase a bunch of different things. You also get to see some of our more popular chains, and then you know the quality of them, you know how well they're going to do, and then you can just come on back and get more.
Wow, that sounds like a great deal.
Yeah, of course.
So let's talk about overcoming challenges and getting started. What advice would you give to those people who have invested in permanent jewelry but are struggling to really get it up and running or feel a little stuck?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that's probably where a lot of us will find ourselves. Is as I would recommend starting out really trying to understand who your target customer is. I think a lot of times as business owners, we want to go out and we want to appeal to as many people as we possibly can. We want to appeal to as many demographics, customer groups, those sorts of things. But I think in reality, what speaks to customers is if you get to know them really, really well. So, for example, I think if you get to understand, like, okay, what like asking yourselves, like, what appeals to the customer that I'm trying to attract, and then ask yourself, kind of like you asked me at the beginning, of what is the answer I provide to the question that my customer has, or the thing that they're trying to seek. What solution do I provide? And so I think that can take a lot of research, those sorts of things. That if you haven't done that and you are feeling stuck, I think that's a great place to start, because I think it can help you, rather than looking at the entire industry of permanent jewelry and feeling really overwhelmed because you're not this. You can kind of understand who you are, and then that narrows your focus in, and you can say, okay, I'm going to really chase after this. I really want to just partner with boutique owners, or I really just want to show up at farmers markets, or these sorts of things. And then you can put all of your energy and marketing into that. That's what I would recommend if you're feeling stuck and you haven't done that exploration. I think it's one of those things that it's if you can be consistent for your customer base, that would be ideal. So if you find an area of town that you're located in that you do really well in, staying there and doing everything, that create a partnership with a business owner that you've done well with in the past. Do what we call a residency. So that way you can be set up and your customer knows that if they want to get another one, or if they decide they want to add a charm or any of those sorts of things, they know where they can find you, and they know where they can find you and when they can find you, those sorts of things. But of course, digital marketing is always really helpful. But I think it all starts with understanding who is your customer, what is the problem or the thing that they're looking for, and then how can I be the answer to that, is a great way to start.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So let's talk about people who are maybe on the fence. They're ready to make a decision, but they're sort of on the fence. They own an existing business and they're thinking, how does this fit into my business. For example, I'm owner of a salon. I
Yeah.
have a waiting area. I have part of my business that's not making really the money that I want to make. Can you tell us in what ways can integrating permanent jewelry benefit existing businesses?
Yeah, this is where I get really excited because I think that this can integrate really well with existing businesses. So the beautiful thing about permanent jewelry and like a salon, like if we're going off your example, is that they have to be there. You can't get a haircut online, right? Like you have to be in the store to be able to partake in the experience. And it's the same for permanent jewelry. So this feels like a very seamless, I've seen this be a very seamless integration with salons or other businesses as well, because one, it takes up very little space. All you need is enough space to be able to set up a table where you can have a chair on either side, and a customer can sit across from the welder or whoever you train to do that. It's a very minimal time, appointment time. So whereas like a haircut might take 45 minutes or an hour, to get a permanent bracelet can take 10 minutes or less, depending on how decisive that customer might be or how many options you have. So you're able to fit those customers in between appointment services, or while they're waiting for their stylist to get to their appointment. It can be something that's readily available, and it's just another reason to get customers into your store. So maybe somebody's getting a haircut and they see that you offer that, and then they remember that next week, oh, my mom's visiting and I really want to take her to get permanent jewelry. Oh, I already know a place. It's at my salon that I go to all the time, that I know the people. So you've already established trust with your customer. And so this just gives them another reason to come and see you. It also brings in a whole other customer that maybe hasn't experienced you yet. So you're able to get new customers in the door, and then like, wait, where do I need to get my haircut for my annual haircut or whatever it might be. Where do I go? And they're like, wait, I got permanent jewelry at this place, and I'll go get there. They were nice. They were kind. They had a great experience, and why wouldn't I go there? Maybe I'll get another bracelet while I'm there. Those sorts of things. I think and then the other thing is that there are more than, like, in most salons or most businesses, there are people that have capacity to take on another task. So in a salon, for example, maybe you have front of house employees who maybe they're not trained to cut hair or to perform another service, but they can learn how to do this. They can learn how to do permanent jewelry in as little as 2 weeks, and they can be contributing and getting commission or contributing in revenue. And so then you're not even necessarily having to hire anybody additionally to be able to perform this service. It's just utilizing the staff that you already have. And so I think it's a really easy integration. It's just a matter of making that investment and identifying who you want to do this.
To that end, like, I'm sold. So how do you recommend I choose a reliable supplier for permanent jewelry materials?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is definitely something that we've, through Loveweld and PJS, have had a lot of practice in. For us, finding suppliers is all about, yes, you want to consider price. Like, price is important. You don't want to pay way too much for product. You want to get a fair price, but you also want to consider that your suppliers are your partners. They are people who can kind of come alongside of you, that can support you, and they can have your back a lot of the time. And so I would say getting to know your suppliers, ask them what they value, ask them why they want to work with me, what answer do they have to a problem that I might have as a customer who's looking for a supplier, what makes them unique. And really understanding that, and considering that with price, obviously, is really important. I think too, then really practically, you can get really practical with, like, okay, what's their availability? Like, how quickly am I able to get product from them? Can I do custom product with them? Is that something that I could potentially do? Like I said, this is your suppliers can make or break you as a business owner. Just for an example, let's say you have a really really, really popular chain that does really well that you only get from one supplier. And then all of a sudden that supplier decides they're not going to keep it anymore, or they go out of business, or they don't want to sell to you anymore. And then now you're just left high and dry without your crowd pleasing chain, your chain that's like money in the bank. So you want to create a relationship with the supplier that's going to communicate with you, that's going to advocate with you, or advocate for you, and things like that. So price is definitely something to consider, but there's a lot of other things to consider in regards. And I would just say creating that relationship and partnership with a supplier is something that I would recommend for everybody, and that I do recommend to our PGS customers too. It's like, definitely do your homework, get to know people, pick up the phone. Are they accessible? How do I place orders? How quickly do I get them? All of these questions are great questions to be asking.
So we all know the welding machine is part and parcel of creating a permanent jewelry piece. That welder is what actually puts the piece together.
Mm-hmm.
How can I shop for and select a suitable welding machine for permanent jewelry production? Understanding that welding machines, you can find them on Amazon. They can range from, a couple $100 all the way up to, $7,000 plus. How do I pick a welding machine that's suitable for my business? What things should I consider? And what tips would you provide? When shopping around for your welding machine? It's a big investment.
It's definitely going to be the largest part of your investment when you're investing in your initial setup for permanent jewelry. So something that you want to consider and weigh your options. And there are good options out on the market for you. I would definitely start with the very basic of ensuring that you're going to be able to find where this machine was manufactured. I think that's a huge recommendation that I would give, in making sure that your welding machine that you purchase, no matter where it's from, is subject to government regulations. So while permanent jewelry itself is not regulated by our government, these machines are. And so some of them that are available on Amazon, they might not necessarily have been subjected to any sort of testing or things like that. I would say also there are some machines on the market that they just weren't created for permanent jewelry. They weren't created for jewelry at all. They were created for something wholly different, like maybe like orthodontia or something like this, like completely unrelated to permanent jewelry. And I have, I think people have great experience with certain machines that they could have easy access to. But in our experience, we want to make sure that it's a safe machine. And so all of the machines that we carry, we stand behind and feel like they are a safe option for you and for your customer. And we know the manufacturers of them. So we know where they come from. We know, and that's important for you if your machine ever breaks or you need support. To be able to get in touch with the manufacturer is really important so they can support you through that. So that's where I would start on a very basic level of just making sure that you can identify where was this machine manufactured? Was it made for jewelry? Was it made for permanent jewelry? And then go from there. Then I would again ask you, if I was doing a consultation with you, Kate, and you were like, I want to start, but what machine do I get started with? I would first ask you about your customer. What's your target customer? And talk about your setup. Are you wanting to travel? Are you wanting to do events predominantly? Or are you wanting to be set up in one place, in a salon, in a business, and be set there pretty permanently? And then once we kind of nailed that down, I would ask what your price point is like for your customer. So what is your target price point that you're wanting to offer for your customer? And so that all of those questions help me kind of identify what machine I would recommend for anybody getting started. And so those are questions that I would definitely present to anybody that I was purchasing a machine from, is like, what machine works for travel and it really does well with just like gold fill and sterling silver chain and like a 2.5 millimeter jump ring, and then go from there.
Awesome. So say I am a solopreneur. I am just getting started with permanent jewelry. I plan to, I don't really have a storefront yet, and I plan to do maybe some pop-ups and events locally. What machine would you recommend for me when getting started?
Yeah, if you're wanting to travel, you're wanting to keep your product line fairly simple while you're getting started, I would recommend either the Sunstone Orion Impulse or the Sunstone Orion PJ. Both of those machines are going to be highly mobile. They're really small. They're easy to transport. If you're wanting to do charms or have the opportunity to do charms, I would just recommend doing the Orion PJ. And that's just because it's able to do a little bit of a smaller spot size, which just means that it can weld a smaller jump ring, which is what we would recommend for our small, barely there jump rings is what we would recommend for charms. So that way it's just like a design upgrade. It looks really good. It looks seamless rather than having a segmented bracelet. It looks really seamless. So the Impulse or the PJ are our most popular machines that we sell, and they do a great job for sure.
Awesome. That's very helpful. So say now I am a business owner, I'm operating an existing business, and I'm going to add permanent jewelry to my business.
Mm.
My price point is maybe a little bit higher. I plan to sell 14 karat gold, solid gold.
Mhm.
What machine would you recommend in my case?
Yeah, so this gets where it's fun because you have a little bit more options. So I would recommend minimally starting with the Sunstone Orion 100C. This is going to come with a microscope, which is a game changer when welding. When welding in general, and then also when you're welding 14 karat gold and charms, especially if charms are like, have diamonds on them, or, your customer is paying a lot of money for those, and you want to make sure that the weld is solid and complete. So the 100C, I also recommend the PUK 6. So this is going to be kind of our top of the line machine. However, it is one of the most consistent machines that we've seen and we work with. It's going to be, it comes with a microscope as well. It's going to be able to weld as small as you need it to be, and then as well as big as you need it to be. And so those are the two machines that I would recommend if you were setting up permanently in a store.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So let's get to industry expertise.
Mhm.
Obviously, as the sister company of Love Weld, you have expertise in spades. Let's start with what is some lesser known advice you would offer to aspiring welders interested in permanent jewelry?
The thing that comes to mind is in regards to thinking about choosing the product that you would want to carry. I would definitely heavily consider 14 karat gold. And I think that perhaps the advice is just offer something. It's cheaper. Your customer that won't pay that much. I think it's a great option to have for your customers. Your profit margins are going to be higher on 14 karat gold. You're going to deal a little bit less with people being upset with their bracelet turning or tarnishing. And so 14 karat is a great option. It does require more of an upfront investment. However, you're going to recoup that investment significantly more. And your customer, I think, is going to be happier as well. I think too, this is a very, very specific piece of advice. But one of the things, this doesn't come standard with most of the machines. With the PUK, it does. But in our starter kits, we include what we call grounding pliers. And so if you are a permanent jewelry business owner, you know what the grounding is, like the grounding piece is. It's going to be like a little clip that completes the circuit that allows the machine to fire, to be able to operate. We include grounding pliers because it helps us be able to actually get leverage on our jump ring with two sets of pliers rather than just one. And so that's like a very small nitty gritty sort of thing that we just include in our starter kit because it's a life-changing thing for us at Love Weld, or it was. And so we want to make sure that that's accessible to all of our customers. But when I'm interacting with people that maybe are permanent jewelry business owners, or they had no idea that even existed. So if you are a permanent jewelry business owner, highly recommend. We have them available for sale on our website. invest in them and they will change your life for sure.
That's awesome. We're here for it. We're
Yeah.
here for it. Thank you for that tip.
Yeah.
Let's move on to marketing.
Okay.
Marketing is such an important part of really sustaining a permanent jewelry business. What effective marketing strategies have you found to be particularly successful for operating permanent jewelry?
Yeah, these are great questions. I think the first thing is one, again, I'm going to keep saying it but I just think it's so important is understanding your customer. It is just, okay, how does the customer that I'm trying to target, how do they ingest information? So I think vast majority of marketing is done now digitally. So that could be email marketing, that could be social media marketing, but I think investing in that is going to be a good use of your time and money and your resources. And then again, constantly asking that question of, okay, what solution am I trying to provide for my customer, or what do I want them to do? Sarah talks about how the Loveweld CEO and co-founder of PJS talks about how, the trend of permanent jewelry will only get you so far. So yes, you might attract people because permanent jewelry is trending and it's flashy and new and everybody's still learning about it. But what's going to get people coming back to you? And I think marketing to that. So it's your product, your customer experience. It's why are people coming to see me, and then marketing that. And so investing in email marketing, being consistent in your marketing, and in your communication with your customer as well, and continuing to nurture your return customers as well as attracting new ones.
Let's move on to the welding kit.
Yeah.
I know that PJS offers a great welding kit. We've talked about it includes free training. What factors did you have in mind when creating the PJS starter kit for welding permanent jewelry? And does the welding kit provided include all the tools and supplies you need to start permanent jewelry?
Our goal is always to make it as easy as possible for people to get started with permanent jewelry. So of course, that's the philosophy that we took to our complete welding kit, was how can we get these tools and things to our customers as easy as possible? So that's what even prompted the idea of doing it as a kit. Was, okay, these are the things that we would take, for example, at Loveweld, if we're going and we're starting up a new location, these are the tools that we would order. These are the tools that we would purchase in order to get that setup going. And so we started from that of like, okay, what is the absolute necessary items in order to set up a permanent jewelry station? And then we wanted to make sure that was put together in the most cost-effective way. So we want it to be, it's an investment, but it's definitely, I think there are other options that perhaps more expensive, but for us, we wanted to make it as cost effective as possible. And so, so it includes everything, the tools that you need, pliers, grounding pliers, like I already mentioned. Those are amazing. Grounding pliers, it's going to come with measuring tape. It's going to come with a leather swatch to be able to protect your customer from the weld and from the electrode. It's going to come with chain to be able for you to practice with, to train with, as well as even sell. And it's going to, I'm sure I'm even forgetting other things, eye protection, eye magnification, organizational materials, everything that we would need to get started. And we wanted to just make that where it's as easy as just like adding one thing to your cart and then it's on the way.
Well, let's move on to chain styles and metals.
Yeah.
What chain styles and metals are best suited for permanent jewelry?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I think a question a lot of people entering into the market will probably be asking themselves. And there is a lot of information out there for sure. I think what we would recommend, the chain metals that we offer are going to be sterling silver, gold fill, and 14 karat gold, as well as vermeil for some of our charms. For us, these are the metals that are going to last the longest. We're going to, have higher quality outcomes as compared to some of the other metals. Any metal that exists out there, gold plate, stainless steel, any of these sorts of things, they are, you can weld them. There are definitely options. You could buy chains like that. It's just a matter of like what quality you're wanting to weld and the expectation that you set with your customer. So for us, through our research, through our wear testing, gold fill, sterling silver, 14 karat gold, and vermeil are going to be the highest quality metals and going to result in positive outcomes with customers.
Could you explain the differences for everybody who's not a jewelry expert between solid gold, gold filled, gold plated, and gold vermeil in terms of their composition and maybe also their price point?
Yeah, absolutely. So gold plate and is basically going to be an alloy of metals at its base, and then they do they it's like a flash plating. So like they will put a layer of gold around it. So there's no gold necessarily at the base or at the core of a gold plate, and then it's going to have a thin layer of gold around that. The problem with gold plate, specifically in permanent jewelry, is once that gold wears off through daily wear, taking showers, going swimming, these sorts of things, it will happen. It's going to reveal this gross looking core, or just not aesthetically pleasing core. And gold plate is not necessarily regulated in the industry. So just because it says it's gold plate doesn't mean that it has a specific amount of gold around the outside. So it can wear off in a matter of days if you're wearing it all day. So that, in our experience, leads to an unhappy customer. Gold fill, it has to be made in a factory. It is an alloy. It's going to be, mixed metals, but it has more gold. And in the way that the process in which they make that makes the gold harder to wear off. So it lasts a lot longer. It's going to be kind of like the happy medium, if you will, between 14 karat gold and gold plated. Vermeil is similar to gold plate in that it is a super thick version of a gold plate. So it has a thick layer of gold around, and it's actually around a sterling silver base. So that way, when it does eventually wear off, which vermeil typically can last years, it will be a sterling silver base and not a brass or copper, or those sorts of things. And then sterling silver, it's just going to be sterling silver. And then 14 karat gold, it's 14 karat gold. So those are going to be kind of more of the precious metals, the pure metals that are going to last. Sterling silver will tarnish, but you can always polish it. And then 14 karat gold is ideal for a long lasting wear. It's not going to turn, it's not going to tarnish, those sorts of things. But gold fill, vermeil, and gold plate, once they do tarnish, that is kind of the end of their road.
Why does the choice of metal matter in permanent jewelry? Why is it important to me?
It's going to be important because your customer is purchasing a piece of jewelry that they're wanting to wear for a long period of time. That's the idea behind permanent jewelry. And while it can be taken off, the ideal is that they're able to get some sort of long-lasting wear out of that piece of jewelry. So why we wouldn't recommend gold plate or gold plate jewelry is because it's not going to last very long at all. And so we have these specific metals because you're going to get a long lasting wear. So we have sterling silver, 14 karat gold, as well as gold fill available because they're going to last. And that matters for you as a business owner because you want your customer to be happy. You don't want to have a customer leave and then never come back again. The ideal is that you're creating a customer base that will come back to you at every milestone to celebrate with permanent jewelry, or bring people on their birthdays or Mother's Day, which is coming up, or Christmas, or any of these sorts of things. And if they don't have a positive experience, that makes it a little bit harder for them to want to come back to you. And so that quality of metal really matters when you're starting and establishing yourself, and you want to be a reputable permanent jewelry business. And so that means having high quality metals in your offering, in your inventory.
Really helpful. Thank you for clarifying that. Let's move on to just some basics on, logistics and support. Do customers need an account with PJS to make purchases for permanent jewelry supplies?
They do not, no. You can create an account that'll help you store kind of your order information, but it's not required in order to purchase from us.
So I'm a solopreneur, and I'm getting started. Is there a possibility for a financing option or any sort of personal financing for permanent jewelry?
Absolutely. So we do offer Shop Pay on our website, which if you qualify for, you can definitely partake in that. I also like to tell people that we accept PayPal as an option, and PayPal, which we are not affiliated with, but we accept their payments. They do offer, you can apply for financing through them. So those are the two things that I would recommend in order to get financing or help when making that initial investment.
So I'm almost sold. I'm right on the fence, and I think I'm ready to make my decision. What is that final piece of advice that you would offer me when I'm thinking about adding or starting permanent jewelry?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I would say is if you've done your research, you feel passionate about it, if this is something that excites you, and you are that close, then I would say just go for it. I know it's probably like easier said than done, but I think the being able to take a risk, and I think if you're willing to work hard and if you're willing to be consistent for your customer, and have the high quality materials and do all of those sorts of things, I think you'll be pleased with your results, whatever they may be.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Hannah. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, thank you for joining us and sharing all your tips and tricks, and we look forward to what's to come and what's next with Permanent Jewelry Solutions.
Of course, there's lots coming down the pipeline. So super excited to take a moment and answer any of these questions. And like I mentioned, we're available. If you have any questions, feel free to schedule a consultation with us, email us, text, we're available. We're here to help.